water.
Yes. Apparently this video is going to come in two portions because I pushed the stop instead of pause. So whatever you're looking for this class, it's going to be in two parts.
I started crying in puja.
Yeah.
Like it just started coming out and I was like, okay.
Yeah. We will get into puja moving forward in every single class that we do. Puja is what protects us from our clients' energy and also from our clients' energy from our energy, if that makes sense. I always think of puja as a way for me to put myself on a shelf and literally empty myself out to be a conduit to just give the technique and give the messages and receive the messages from the guides. And so some practitioners will receive messages differently. Like you can just have this like inner intuition that comes through, like a certain question should be asked or a certain portion should be worked on. Other people can actually like physically see or hear their guides. I can't. I just have this inner intuition that comes through. When I first started working, I would actually get a little blacked out. And I was like, how'd I get to the arm? I was just on the leg. Thank God that doesn't happen anymore. But just pay attention because each and every practitioner is going to have a different way that they receive what is needed for the client. That's like one of the hardest things for people to wrap their head around because, again, this is not a linear training where you do X, Y, and Z and boom, you're good. This is something that has to be woven into the DNA of the practitioner. And it is like a daily practice of commitment to ourselves to make sure that we are connecting into our own stuff. So, yeah. But yeah, I was a little concerned that I was going to start crying in the water element because, man, there's a lot going on. So I'm glad I was able to just let it flow through. And I'm super excited that you got to feel that sensation because as you work on clients, you might even feel certain emotions that the client is feeling, which gets a little freaky. You're like, is this mine or yours? So it's a discernment piece, and we'll talk more about discernment when we loop back around to all the elements. So yeah. Let me share my screen on this water element, and hopefully we're going to be good. Okay, so the water element is all about our reproductive space. It's our sacral chakra. Women, you know, we have our womb space. Men, it's just their prostate and their testes and genitalia there. I don't work with a lot of male clients. And so we will get into a little bit of womb work. I'm not going to recommend you provide womb work for your clients until you've hit, you know, 1,000, 2,000, 10,000 hours. Because it can be a really emotional place to take people through. But I want to introduce the technique so you can at least do it on yourselves. So when we have the second chakra, it is the sacral chakra, also the water element. So again, elements are Chinese medicine, chakras are Ayurveda. And so we go ping-ponging between the two practices. If we look up at the balanced place, so balanced, excessive, and deficient up here, the water element is all about emotional intelligence. It is the feminine side of our earthing energy, whereas earth is the masculine energy. I have a, how does it say it? It says, water is the element of stillness and rest. So take time to rest and rejuvenate. And so again, that language hangs out in the earth element, but earth is masculine, water is feminine. So we can still provide rest for ourselves and rejuvenate ourselves. It's just going to be in a different way. it's kind of where our creativity lies. So when we find time to rest in the water element, we might find ourselves birthing new ideas. And that ties directly into the feminine womb language that we have with the water element. So we birth new ideas, we are creative, we are nurturing to the things that really spark our intelligent side. And then you'll see the language: graceful, yielding, nurturing, sensually satisfied. And when we read sensually satisfied, clients always immediately go to like sex, right? It's not even close to that. Sensually satisfied is just fully tuned into the senses of our body, regardless of what it is. So I know some of my clients are like, oh, and it's because they're only seeing the surface level of what that means. So sensually satisfied in all aspects of connection to self. So if we are excessive, you might know the person already. They're overly sensitive. They cry at the drop of a hat. If you have a criticism for them or you confront them, these people, they're just overflowing with a water emotion. And so right off the bat, you're like, oh, hi. How can we help? How can we give you a little bit more earth because you are overflowing your boundaries? And then this is where like sensually addicted comes in. So again, it can be a sex addict, but it can also just be a connection addiction. Whereas the earth element was more like a physical addiction, like are you addicted to drugs or sugar or food or exercise? Because again, anything done in excess is too much. The sensual addiction is more of the emotional piece. Do you jump from relationship to relationship to relationship because you're not sensually satisfied? And then mood swings up and down, which is why this is really important for women's health, because, you know, we talked about the 28-day cycle. So mood swings are not normal PMS symptoms. Like we should not be having these. I laugh all the time because Western medicine just categorizes, oh, women's health, PMS. Like these are symptoms that we can take care of. This is not just PMS. Okay. So if someone's in these crazy highs and lows, again, it's a water element imbalance. If we are deficient, this is emotional numbness. So as a corrections officer, this is where I was at. So I could not have a lot of empathy. I couldn't care about someone. Like my whole role was safety and security of that person. And if it was beyond that, it didn't matter. I was numb to whatever their story was. Okay. And then fear of pleasure. So this could make someone like really frigid, not up for adventure. They find themselves easily bored because they're just not connected into what they like, what they want, what they feel. And so if someone is deficient, their water is not going to be flowing. And so stagnation occurs, which can be an excess category of our earth over here. If our water is stagnant, I wonder why. There's too much earth in our water. It's creating like a mud pit. So again, we can hear people's words. We can like listen and go, and they might be like, I'm just numbed out to life. And then we can go, if you're numb in the water element, I'm curious if you're excessive in the earth element. And maybe not, they might not be, but it's a curiosity point. Everything that we do is out of curiosity. Like, oh, I wonder how that's connected. I wonder how that's connected. All right. So then when it comes to the different lessons that need to be learned, earth was self-preservation. Water is self-satisfaction. And again, it's not selfish. It's just taking care of ourselves so we have enough water to pour onto everyone else. We should be able to feel and to want and to know exactly what we need because we have a balanced earth element. If we balance the earth and we understand what we need, what our boundaries are, and how we can find satisfaction, we are already closer to being balanced in the water because we already know what we want, so we can feel and want that space. The challenge, go figure, because this is the feminine line of the chakra space, guilt. Have you heard of the mom guilt, right? Like it's right here in the space. So a lot of times people will have poor boundaries or they're overly sensitive because there's guilt coming forward. So if you criticize someone and they just fly off the handle, it's probably because they're feeling guilty that they didn't foresee foresee your need. And that's not their place to foresee anything. But the guilt weighs on them so much that it makes them so sensitive. Now, people who are emotionally numb, they're probably not going to have that challenge as much because they're not tapped into their feelings anyways. So the guilt piece is going to come more on the excessive side. When we talk Ayurveda, earth element was living with the seasons. So with the water, of course, it's something that's going to hydrate us. So water, juices, foods that have a high water concentration, celery, watermelon, zucchini, anything else that has high water concentrations, great. And then we talked about the yin and yang yoga postures already. So I have a couple of them written down here. So tree is that yang. Warrior 3 is a balanced posture where you're like an airplane in the sky. Cobra, because you're doing that back bend again. The cat portion of the cat cow, and then hip openers. So anything that is mind over matter balancing movements. So again, it's your standing postures that are going to be your yang meridians. And the yang is going to be there to help control the water. We don't want to this is where I think I touched base on this yesterday, but normally if someone is excess, we would give them a yin posture routine to bring them down. And if they're deficient, we would give them a yang thing to bring them up. This is the element that is flipped in, because if someone is numb, we don't want to give them power movements to keep them numb. We want to give them the juicy spinal rolls that we just did. We want them to slow down to the point where they're like, oh God, I didn't know I needed to release this that I was holding on to. Yeah.
Can you repeat that again? What you said about the yin and the yang with an excessive and deficient?
Yeah. I'll flip over to water or the earth and we'll go there quick because I don't know if I actually said it yesterday. So if someone
original question was at the beginning of class.
Yeah. So if someone is excessive in the earth element, that means they're going to be really sluggish, right? And so we don't want to give them a yin practice because yin is slow and sluggish in itself. We want to get them a practice that gives them power. So that's that mountain, warrior, locust, power movements to get them moving, but still earthed in. And then when they're deficient, if they have anxiety or, they can't sit still, you can do a yin posture for earth because they need it. They need to slow down. But you can also give the yang version as well. So just notice what the excessive and the deficiencies are, and you'll already notice the yin and the yang postures that should go with it. So if it's sluggish and heavy, we don't want to slow them down any further. If they are in this water element and they're numb, we don't want to slow them down, we want to slow them down so that they can connect inward. So deficiency for water equals a yin posture. And then if you're in the excessive category for water, you can definitely do the yang if you would want. But when we talk about balancing through the whole chart, it'll make more sense. But I really wanted to focus in on that yin portion of both the earth and the water so that you're not cross-balancing. Yeah, so the asana focus is balancing where the earth element was grounding. So if you don't know yoga at all, and you're just like, we need to find somehow to balance you, stand on one foot. Work on something that is not connected in 2 feet. And then you have your water activities. So this is where the ritual baths come in. Again, this is a very feminine element. Like, we want to get in the water. You can do ceremony in the water. And if we get away from the woo-woo side of the womb work that I'm like just jiving in right now, you can just like head to the swimming pool or the lakes. You can work on attuning your senses. So that means like sensory deprivation activities, whether you like to do an eye mask or earplugs. If you want to do like a sensory mat and just explore with what you're feeling, anything that attunes your senses, and the float tank. I don't usually recommend the float tank for my clients because, man, I don't know how many people have gotten salt crystals in their ear and end up with vertigo. But if you do suggest that, just make sure they're wearing their earplugs and they don't fall out, because they're going to get those salt crystals and it's not fun. Let's see what else. All right, before I get to our water meridian questions, let me show you what the meridian lines look like, because I definitely did not do that before we started class. Okay. So you're going to notice that there is 2 lines on the back of the body, a solid dash and a dot dash. These meridian charts that you have are going to tell you that one is bladder and one is kidney. It's fine if you want to do that, but in traditional Chinese medicine, both of those meridians on the back body here are bladder. They only separate when we get into the leg, because like I had mentioned, the kidney dives deep into the center of the body because it is our life force. So it doesn't really matter. You can call it kidney, you can call it bladder. To me, it doesn't matter. It's not that important, but I just want you guys to know, because when you see the meridian doll that I have, this will just be bladder meridian. Okay, so you'll notice right here on the bottom of the foot, this is going to be kidney 1 and kidney 2. And we will be going over all of these points in person, so don't fret if you're like, oh my gosh. And then the kidney meridian goes from the arch of the foot right here, around the ankle joint, and then up that line that we had traced. Okay, and if we go back up to the top, it goes up, and this is where these shiatsu charts don't line up with the traditional Chinese medicine. Traditionally, this would just follow all the way up and dive inside of us. For this cross section behind the knee in Chinese medicine, everything above that is now bladder. And so it wraps all the way up and then across the top of the shoulders, which is why I said we were doing those Del Sarte movements for our yoga class. And then it terminates right here in between the eyebrows. And when you looked at our schedule that we have out, when I get back from Morocco, there is a 3-hour block of time for EFT, emotional freedom technique. Start noticing these points on the face, because that's going to be the points that we use for EFT. Don't worry about them now, but I'm giving you like a foreshadowing of thought process of why these certain techniques are going to be working. So yeah, so that is going to be the bladder meridian. You see the lines going out to the arms. We do not diagnose in the arms for the water element. It is strictly the back of the body. Again, these are shiatsu meridian charts. They don't necessarily line up 100% with Chinese medicine, but they are fabulous. Okay, last portion of today's class. Okay, so the kidney meridian and the bladder meridian. The bladder meridian is going to be the yang line of the body because it is on the back side of the body. The kidney meridian, because it's medial or internal, that is the yin line of the body. And the kidney, again, is part of our life force. Okay, so one way to keep a really good healthy chi in the kidney meridian is to keep the lower back covered and warm. So if you're a person who always has a shorter shirt on and your back is exposed to the elements, you're going to want to bring that shirt down or wear a scarf or something around the low back. Again, we're protecting the physical kidney from the elements. You can also, another tack for Chinese medicine, not specific to water, but that's why the back of the neck should be covered when it's cold out, because you're letting in sickness to this line. So just a little fun facts. All right, when we get into the kidneys, this is one of my favorite things, and a lot of the questions for kidney and water are very similar. So, and you'll understand why, because those lines are just right on top of each other. So you can ask either of these questions. But do you feel stuck in regards to your potential? A lot of times clients are going to come in and they're going to be like, I just feel so stuck. I don't know what to do with my life. I don't know what to do with my partnership. I don't know what to do. I don't even know who I am. Okay, well, where do you feel stuck in regards to your life in general? Yes, it says potential, but anytime I hear the word stuck, period, we're going to the water. They're stuck in the mud. And then do you feel like you're balancing the components of your life like you would like? Do you feel overwhelmed? Do you feel overly emotional? Do you feel like your work family life is not in balance, right? Do you feel like time management isn't your best? Have you been feeling resentment, withdrawn, or apprehension? This is usually a signature for low water. So the numbing will actually create anger and frustration and resentment. And I'm going to give foreshadowing for tomorrow. Because if we are deficient in the water, it doesn't cool our fire. And the fire is part of anger. Okay, so just foreshadowing. Do you feel like maybe you're going in the wrong direction in some aspect of your life? So again, if someone comes in and they're just like, I don't know what to do, I hate my job, da 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 da. And my response is, if you were 5% more willing to do what you want to do, what would it be? What do you need? If you were just 5% more willing to show up, what do you need? And then the kidney meridian, because it is part of the vitality of life. This is, could I go back in a situation? Or are you living in the past? What is literally draining your energy because it's continuously coming up from your past? Is there a specific moment in time where you're like, God, if I could just change that, or if I would have just done X, I wouldn't be in the situation that I am today? And that is a drain on our kidney. That is where the chronic fatigue comes in, because we cannot get out of that loop. And then if we flip over to the bladder meridian, again, the same question. Do you feel stuck in regards to your potential is there? But this is the one where it's overly emotional or emotionally numb. When we work on the back of the body and you have a client who has PTSD or sexual assault history, we can trigger flashback memories really fast, because whatever they have been numbing out to is going to come to the surface really fast. And so don't be surprised if your client is like bawling on the mat, or they're like jumping like this because it's so like out of control. Just know, and that's why we're going to go through the intake forms and all of that at the end of sessions. So you can prepare your client like, hey, we're now working on the emotional body. If you didn't disclose any trauma, I just want you to know that certain memories can come forward. And if that's happening to you, let me know right away, because we can stop this line. We're not going to avoid it, but we're going to give them at least time to pause. And then this is going to be, are you holding back any emotions that you wish to be expressing? This is a little foreshadowing into the throat chakra, because water supports the throat. So if they're not expressing things, they're also not being emotionally intelligent with themselves, because they're holding it in. And then the whole numbness, like do you feel like you should be experiencing an emotion and you're not? So like say your loved one came home from a deployment and you're just completely numb, but you should be happy and overjoyed and excited. So why are you numb? What's going on? What is the emotion that you should be feeling that you're not? And this can go back to a hormone imbalance too. Because if our hormones are all jacked up for females, we're not feeling certain things anyways. So yeah, that is the gist of the water element. And I do want to touch base quick on the earth meridians. If your client has like IBS or stomach disorders or parasites or anything like that, it can be because they are trying to they have no control in their life, like the safety and security aspect. They have no control in their life. So their body physically controls the only thing they can. And so that's where like the constipation comes from, or the IBS, diarrhea, or like a combination. Like I usually like to ask clients, like, what were you doing when that bout of diarrhea came on? Or what did you just recently finish? And a lot of times it's like I had final exams, or I was really stressed out to get this project done at work. And then afterwards, like it was just such a relief to be done. And then the digestive issues come up because they're holding, and then they're not. And then they're holding, and then they're not. So any kind of stomach issues can be treated through the earth element. And we're going to teach digestion massage too. So it's going to be in for a lot of stuff. Let's see if I missed anything else. If I have anything shared, let me check if I've got one more. I don't think so. I think we're right on track. I'm liking these 90-minute classes because I think that's perfect amount of time. Okay. Do you guys have any questions in regards to the water element, or how anything kind of flows between water and earth?
Not yet. I think it's something where I might go back and rewatch the video later tomorrow sometime and see if anything kind of, I guess, just putting it together. And I know it will all come together in the end. But I think I might just rewatch it just to see if I have any other questions and can my notes.
And I would also, and possibly instead of watching the class that you just had with me, go into the recorded ones that are part of the 6 video series and watch the water one, because you might key into something different that I said differently in that video that makes more connection for you.
Okay. Is that in the files?
That is going to be, pull it up because I gave you guys permission. Hold on, I gotta pull up the website. Ooh. My throat is on fire. Screen share. Okay. It is going to be under trainings, intro into the 5 elements.
Okay.
And you guys should have access to this.
Gotcha.
So right now it says watch a preview, but if you guys are logged into the website, you should have gotten like an email confirmation of like, congratulations, you just purchased a new subscription, intro to the 5 element class. So this is that class, and each one of them is about an hour long. So you can just watch the water element, and it goes through everything that we just went through. But in a very like structured step-by-step, every single video is set up the exact same way.
Okay.
Because I wasn't trying to teach people how to do Thai. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, so now it's great. It's like a really nice video series that just cut and dries the elemental side of stuff. And so maybe that will make it easier access because you're not trying to connect all the dots right away.
Okay.
So I would definitely check that out. Tomorrow we have fire element. And yeah, I'm thinking we're going to be done with these 90 minutes-ish classes. So yeah. So again, allow yourself the 20 minutes of class time that you were supposed to be here and do something that really you want to do instead of what you have to do. And I will see you guys tomorrow, and I will keep these videos continuing to link up to YouTube. So again, the water element should be in 2 pieces since I pushed the wrong button.
It's okay.
Sounds good to me.
All right, I'll see you guys tomorrow.
All
Yeah.
right, thanks, Ariel. Bye.
Bye.